Good morning, my name's John. Welcome to another Theory Thursday. Today's going to be a little bit different because we're not going to go to the whiteboard and we're not going to talk about any theory. But I'm going to tell you a story instead. And it's an important story that has to do with what we're doing here at the channel. And that story is the story of the real book. So before we get started here, I'm wearing my gold tweed tie today and Casio 230 GA. That's what I'm doing today. There's that. I like this one just because it looks retro. It's got 2 times on it actually. Your regular dial and then there's a digital right at the bottom that you can set to whatever you want. Okay, so anyway, let's get into it. So, the story of the real book. You may have heard of it. It's basically a jazz Bible. What you'll find in here is hundreds and hundreds of tunes. Most of them are just one page in the form of what we would call a lead sheet. 1 page or 2 page max. Sometimes you'll see a song that's 2 page. There you go, 2 page. Hello, young lovers. So, what you'll see here is you got a title, just the melody, and then chords above it. All right, that's all that's in there. Tempo and feel are all up at the top here, and that's it. So it's real bare bones, and it's what we would call a lead sheet. Now, and you also notice the font, right? There's just so much history within this. You'll also notice it says 6th edition. So what's up with that? And I have the C version because I play guitar, and that's a C instrument. So they make these in E flat for altos, B flat for trumpets, whatever key you're looking for. They have these, okay? Now this is published by Hal Leonard, and we'll get to why and how that came about. So this all starts way back in the 40s. Jazz is huge, okay? From the hot club era in the 20s, it just blew up and into swing dancing. It was party music, and then pop music, and then eventually we get into the bebop era where it's just virtuosic players coming in, right? So what's the deal with the real book? So in the 40s, there was this guy in New York, George Goodwin, and up until then, you could buy legal sheet music, which no one did in jazz anyway, because most of the songs were learned orally by listening to it on the record, rewinding it, get a phrase down, rewind it again, get a phrase down. And this guy, George Goodwin, was getting sick of it. He's like, this is taking too much time. There's got to be an easier way to do this. So what he invented was this thing called the tune decks. So if you can picture a cue card, an index card, 5 by 3.5 or whatever it is, it would be the same thing we saw here, but smaller. It'd be a single line melody with small chords above it on one index card, and then on the bottom index card, it would be the name of the song, who wrote it, when it was published, stuff like that. And it was made for radio stations for when they were airing songs, so they could see what's going on. Of course, this turned into a huge market for jazz musicians because they could take these and use them to play songs. I mean, you don't need that much information, as you can see, to get through a song. Chords, melody, and then improvising over it, right? So what happened was these fake books got created. So they would take these index cards, put them on paper, and they would photocopy these things and sell them. And they were called fake books because a jazz musician could use it to fake their way through a gig or through a song that they didn't necessarily know, because all the information they needed was right there. Okay, so that was in the 40s and the 50s, and fake books became rampant. Now the problem with this is it's all illegal. The writers of these songs and publishers aren't getting any money from any of this. So that's a big problem. Not only that, but whoever made these weren't perfect, right? They had errors in them. So fast forward to 1975, Berkeley College in Boston. Okay. Now, the two names of the students are unknown of who did this. There were some professors as well. You go to jazz school, you got to have some jazz books, and these two students were fed up with the errors and just the way fake books were presented, okay? And there was the professor quoted saying he would walk down the hallways, the practice rooms, and you could hear all these jazz songs, and they were playing the changes wrong, the chords wrong. It's like, that's not how actually that goes. I must be looking at the fake book. Wasn't listening to the recording. So these two students got together with a professor or two for help, and they created what's called the real book. So they sat down with a professor in recordings, and they hand wrote all these tunes out. And that's why it looks like this today. They actually hand wrote it out and corrected, or at least tried to correct all the mistakes. And some things just weren't mistakes, they were just updated. Songs that were popular back in the day and then were repopularized with some of the jazz musicians. The first thing I can think of is Miles Davis reharmonizing some of these songs. And so the reharm version is the popular version of the time. So that's the version they wanted to update and put in their real book. Now they called it the real book because it was the better alternative to the fake book, right? You have the fake book and they're creating the real book. So this was in 1975, and as soon as it got printed, albeit still illegal, it was a huge success, okay? So still highly illegal, and then they ran into the same problem as the writers and the publishers. As soon as it was published, they would sell it at their local music stores. You'd have to buy it out of someone's trunk of their car. It was illegal. But as soon as it was published, people were making copies, duplicates of it, and all that. They also weren't perfect, so there were some errors as well. So they went on and ended up creating 5 editions of it. Okay, so they created the real book and they made 5 editions of it, just updating errors, mistakes, stuff like that, adding new tunes, taking out tunes that maybe weren't relevant anymore. Okay, fast forward to 2003. Everyone's got these real books still being sold illegally, and no one's getting paid for it except for whoever illegally copied it, right? Selling it out of their trunk. So music publisher giant Hal Leonard steps into the scene and says, okay, you know what? Let me talk to all the publishers and all the writers, and let's see what we can figure out here. So they went out and got in contact with everyone of the writers and publishers of the tunes, all the tunes in the book. And which is also a little up for debate because a lot of these songs were written way back in the day, and the original creators are in dispute. Because a lot of times, jazz songs were created in a group setting, and who contributed to what, that was also a point of contention. But to the best of their ability, they talked to every writer, every publisher, and said, okay, we're going to put everything together. We're going to buy all the rights to this and make sure people get paid. And they came up with the real book, 6th edition. So that's just a little funny play that they did because the last illegal real book was the 5th edition. They stepped into the scene, and now you can buy these at your local bookstore, your Barnes & Noble, Amazon. You can buy these anywhere, and it's all legal now. Everyone who should get paid is getting paid for this. So that's the story of the real book. Now, it's even having the book is a debate in the jazz community. a lot of the modern jazz musicians are up and coming. Like me, I learned in this. I learned on it. However, a lot of the old heads, some of the jazz police, say, don't ever look at this. You should never look at this. Don't use it to practice. Don't use it to gig. You need to be learning everything by ear, which is how it was done back in the day. However, I come from the classical side of guitar. So having something to look at was very helpful to me. And now I know hundreds of these tunes. So take that how you will. Is it a bad thing? Is it a good thing to have it? I'll leave that up to you. I'm on the fence about it. Listening and learning the songs is fantastic. It's a better way to get it into your fingers. You're going to memorize it a lot faster. However, having this treasure trove of information it's unparalleled. I mean, it's just hundreds and hundreds of songs that everyone knows. So having it, I think, is helpful. So that's the story of the real book. And these charts are what I'm playing on Tune Tuesday. So when I flip through this and pick a song, this is what I'm reading on the stand. Yeah. So I think eventually when we get into some more of these, we'll take a look at some of these songs and analyze them once we get a little farther down the theory line, and everyone understands a few more concepts. We can start taking a look at some of the songs in there. But yeah, so that's the story of the real book. Just wanted to talk about it because I think it's fascinating, the legality and the length of it. I mean, these things have been around for so long, and it wasn't until 60, 70 years later that they became legal. So anyway, that's all I got for you today. I hope you enjoyed the story, and we'll see you next time. Thanks.